Hami Amukela Eka Africa at a Glance, the show that keeps you up to date with stories making headlines around the continent, from Cape to Cairo, Lagos to Mombasa, politics, sports, conservation, arts and culture. This week we look at the ongoing battle for Gabon, how many human traffickers were arrested in Sudan, aid pouring in for Nigeria, and the Ring of Fire. Firstly, let's take a look at the story of the week. Gabon opposition leader Jinping says the only solution to break the crisis in the country was for President Ali Bongo to step down and accept defeat in the disputed presidential election. Security forces have arrested more than 1,000 people during a second day of violence following disputed presidential elections. Protests began after the announcement that President Ali Bongo had been narrowly re-elected in Wednesday's votes. Opposition leader Jinping, who is in hiding, reporters that his party headquarters had been bombed.
Tensions are high in Gabon as opposition supporters dispute election results. Supporters of main opposition candidate Jinping thronged the streets of Libreville in dismay to the results. Gunfire crackled across the city and plumes of smoke billowed from the torched Parliament building as anti-government protesters clashed with heavily armed security forces. At least 2 people were killed while 6 others sustained injuries. More than 200 people have been arrested for looting. The protesters, who are crying foul, set fire to Gabon's National Assembly shortly after the results were announced on Wednesday evening.
On ne pourra plus vivre 7 ans encore avec lui. Il y a trop de merde. Il y a trop de merde. On est décidé. Dès qu'on m'extrémait plomb et tout ça, moi demain je suis sur le terrain encore.
Gabon's President Ali Bongo narrowly won re-election, keeping alive a family dynasty in the oil-rich Central African country. He beat leading opposition Jinping by just 1.57 percentage points, setting the stage for an almost certain challenge to the results. Meanwhile, in South Africa, hundreds of Gabon nationals residing in the country took their frustrations to the Gabonese embassy in the capital, Pretoria.
We were supposed to have a president, but the king of Gabon, comment on dit, a volé, stole the victory to the people, the population of our country of Gabon. So now he wants to come and lead us for 7 years again, maybe 40 years again. We don't want it. You don't want him anymore. We are tired of what's happening in our country. We are just tired. There is no way we can even do anything. We just want him to leave.
We're just trying to have the attention of the South African government and everybody in this country to let them know that what has been going on in Africa overall, we're just tired. We're just tired. We want them to take part because what's happening in Gabon, actually, people are being killed. You cannot be oppressed in 2016. It doesn't make sense anymore. For someone that has been in power, talking about his dad, in power for 42 years, his son now for 7 years, we believed in him, but what's happening now, we're just tired.
The opposition has described the election as fraudulent and called for voting results from each of Gabon's polling stations to be made public. Opposition delegates in the Electoral Commission have vowed to fight for a recount. Bureau Report, AN7.
Tanzania's main opposition party has postponed for a month the promised protests against what it says are anti-democratic actions by President John Magufuli. The Chama cha Demokrasia party said countrywide defiance rallies against Magufuli's dictatorial tendencies will be held on the 1st of October if efforts to mediate the crisis by religious leaders fails.
Tanzania's main opposition party postpones nationwide anti-government protests. This comes after religious leaders vowed to hold talks with the president John Magufuli in efforts to mediate the crisis. The protests, which was scheduled for Thursday, has been moved to the 1st of October if religious leaders fail to reach a resolution. The decision for dialogue has been highly welcomed.
I think this is a good time to use diplomacy to solve this misunderstanding. And I think the best way is for the 2 parties to sit down and discuss the issues, discuss what is exactly the problem.
The general consequence is just building the gap creating a vacuum, creating a unnecessary misunderstanding between people who share common values, common views, common faith. So what's supposed to be done is to ensure that at least they have to leave away political perspectives or perception they have, so that at least they may embark on a common mission of building the future of their country.
Opposition leaders accuse Magufuli of squeezing democratic space, allegations dismissed by Magufuli, who says his focus is on implementing his political program. Earlier this month, police banned political party meetings, saying they incite violence after 4 police officers were killed in a shootout. In June, party protests were also banned after police used tear gas to break up an opposition rally. Bureau Report, ANN 7.
At least 16 people were killed and 85 injured when a lorry crashed into a bus in central Tunisia. The dawn accident, which happened by a roadside market near Kasserine, also left around 15 cars ablaze.
Authorities say the lorry driver, who was among those killed, was unable to brake and his vehicle hit the bus and several cars before slamming into an electricity pole. Prime Minister Youssef Chahed announced the immediate opening of an investigation into the incident and said he had sent the Ministers of Defense, Health and Transport to the scene of the accident. Dozens of injured were taken to hospital in Kasserine as emergency crews worked to extract others still trapped in the wreckage. Photos shared on social media showed columns of thick black smoke rising from the site of the crash, and national television broadcast images of burnt cars. As of the end of May, 528 people had died in road accidents in the North African country of around 11 million inhabitants since the start of the year.
Sudan's efforts to halt people smuggling sees progress. Authorities have detained some 816 African migrants and a group of smugglers near Sudan's border with Libya while trying to reach Europe between June and August. Now, among them were Eritrean, Ethiopians and Sudanese nationals. 10 smugglers were also arrested on the 16th of August after clashing with security forces near the border.
Sudanese defense authorities have thwarted an attempt to smuggle 190 people near the Libyan border. Among the migrants were people from Eritrea, Ethiopia and Somalia. 14 smugglers of different nationalities were arrested in the operation. They are part of 800 African migrants and a group of smugglers arrested near Sudan's border with Libya whilst trying to reach Europe between June and August.
There are groups that were arrested. We have found one person among them with a cutting-edge GPS device. You find that they specified their path, so they walk in areas almost empty of any forces that would face them.
Sudan is being used as a transit zone by immigrants crossing into Egypt and Libya before heading towards Europe. Authorities accuse Europeans of managing the attempted smuggling.
No one rides a car from Mogadishu, Addis Ababa or Asmara until he arrives to Europe. They are international organizations and managed by Europeans.
Thousands of migrants from sub-Saharan Africa try to reach Libya daily in efforts to seek a better life. But their efforts mostly end in fatality. More than 3,000 migrants have died at sea this year, an increase of some 50% of the same period in 2015. Despite the high number of fatalities, migrants desperate for a better life continue to make the perilous journey.
I wanted to go to Libya, then from Libya to Italy, then from Italy to Europe, but we couldn't go there.
The total number of arrivals in Italy this year now stands at 112,500, slightly below the 116,000 recorded by the same point in 2015. Almost all those migrants originate from West Africa and the Horn of Africa. Some 204,000 crossed the Mediterranean to Europe in the first 6 months of 2016, as the continent battles its worst migration crisis since World War II.
Guinea's President Alpha Condé and opposition leader Selo Daline Diallo met for talks on Thursday, 2 weeks after violent protests over alleged government corruption swept the capital.
One man was shot dead by police and several others were injured as at least 500,000 people rallied in Conakry to denounce what they said was an economic mismanagement by Condé's government. The rally on August 17th, organized by several opposition parties, has passed peacefully until shots were fired by police as the protesters began to disperse, according to witnesses. It was not clear what prompted the intervention by security forces. Guinea's Constitutional Court in November 2015 formally confirmed Condé's re-election, dismissing opposition claims of vote rigging and fraud. It was only the second democratic presidential poll since Guinea gained independence from France in 1958. Despite the country being rich in minerals, most of the population in Guinea live in poverty and survive on less than €1 per day, according to the UN.
Thousands of maidens attended the 2016 annual Reed Dance ceremony in Swaziland. The maidens are gathered by the royal residence in Swaziland on Sunday to perform the traditional dance in front of the royal family and visitors.
Song, dance and pride, a celebration of the girl child. Hundreds of maidens stream into the Lutsitsini royal residence in Swaziland for the Reed Dance ceremony, a cultural event aimed at encouraging maidens to preserve their virginity for marriage and also to show unity among the girls.
It is important because it shows that you are a pure girl. You are here just because you are a pure girl. If you're not a pure girl, you're not supposed to be here. That's the important part about it.
The Reed Dance is a celebration of the Swati nation and forms an integral part of unifying the nation with the king. Young girls and women take part in this old tradition with pride and joy. For Nomfundo, this is her last dance before she ties the knot, an experience she's not looking forward to leaving behind.
It's my last time because I'm engaged, so I have to stick to my marriage, and it's very sad that I won't be no longer part of the maidens, and I'm feeling very bad because it's very nice.
Swaziland has the highest HIV prevalence in the world, with 27% of their population living with HIV. In 2013, over 4,500 people died of an AIDS-related illness. For the maidens, the Reed Dance encourages abstinence and responsible living.
Once you have sex, you've got babies which you don't need, you end up doing some abortions, because abortion is not the right thing, because babies are a gift from God. So it is important to keep your daddy's scroll. You lose your virginity on your wedding day maybe. So it is important to keep your virginity as a girl. You're just respecting your body and yourself.
This event presents the maidens with an opportunity to pay honor to the Queen Mother. Only childless, unwed girls are permitted to take part. Bureau Report, ANN7.
And now it's time for us to take a short break, but when we return, we will take a look at Nigeria's aid issues and the spectacular Ring of Fire. We'll be back.